a Wednesday, which means one thing. Our good friend Mike Lupica of the New York Daily News, and you could read him on MLB.com, and obviously all of his best-selling books as well. And he's nice enough to join us every Wednesday at this time. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I love hearing V's voice. I knew V very well all the way back to Iona. I will tell you my two favorite V stories. They've been told and retold, but I just love them because he was one of the funniest people. I don't know if you ever saw him in person. He was as funny as any stand-up comic. He was that good. And, the first favorite is when he called, I forget what college ref it was. He called him over one night, and he said, "Can you give me a technical foul for what I think?" And the guy says, "No, Jimmy, I can't." And Jimmy said, "Good, because I think you suck." Okay, that was one. But here's my favorite. There was one year where they changed some sort of NCAA regulation, and he came home and he said to Pam, this is when he was coaching at NC State, he said, "Honey, they've changed the rules, and during the off season, there's going to be a period where I have to be on campus for 30 consecutive days." And she said, "Okay." And he said, "And so I'm thinking I want to make love 30 times." And Pam thought about it for a second. She said, "Put me down for 2."
Wow.
So that V was all that, and he was obviously a dear friend of my dear friend John Saunders, who practically who was with him all of that day before he gave that speech, and John was amazed until the day he died that Jimmy was even able to get to the microphone that night. But if you watch it, and we've all watched it a million times, once he got his first laugh, it was like he was well again. It was really one of the great nights in the history of this network.
Absolutely, and they've done great things with it, raising a lot of money for cancer research. So a good job by the Valvano family and by ESPN as well. The big story this week has obviously been Juan Soto, and it made me think of something, Mike, and I'm sure you remember it. I was 16 years old when the Yankees signed Reggie Jackson to a 5-year, $3 million contract.
Yep.
And I thought, $600,000 a year. That's unbelievable. Could you have ever envisioned it going to the way it's gone now?
No, I don't remember whether we talked about this a week ago. We may have. One of the great writers I ever knew, William Goldman, who was a dear friend and my mentor, Butch Cassidy and The Princess Bride and Marathon Man and on and on. He once said to me, "People think you have to have a lot of people involved to have a great bidding war." He said, "No." He said, "All you need is 2 people who really want the same thing." And there were more in this case, but at the end of the day, there were 2 in the end. There were 2 people in the ring at the end, and it was Steve Cohen and it was Hal Steinbrenner. And, I wrote this the other day. No Yankee fan could be mad at Hal Steinbrenner. He went so much further than any of us thought he would ever go. And when he finally quit, it's not like he quit on his stool. He in this case, he did leave it all on the field. And if somebody was going to money whip the other guy, it was going to be Uncle Steve. And he just decided that he wanted Juan Soto, and now he has him. And the one thing that people don't talk about with Cohen, and as I said in this column the other day, he's a pirate, but he's the Mets fans' pirate now, okay?
Right.
He's going to make money off of Juan Soto. The attendance and all the other ways that he grew his brand with this. I'm not saying he's going to get it all back, but I'm saying this is a guy who doesn't make stupid business decisions. I mean, he's one of the few owners in town who actually made his own money. He actually made his own money. And so if it came down to money, nobody could be surprised. I mean, we talked about this for weeks. This is the way I thought it was going to come out, and it was perfectly logical. And I'll tell you something, guys. The Max Fried contract in its own way is as crazy as Soto's contract. But everything is cause and effect. Soto hit the market at a perfect time, in a perfect place, at a perfect moment after he had been to the World Series with the New York Yankees, okay? And then he signs his contract, and then Max Fried is sitting there, and that many years and that much money for a guy who's actually had some forearm troubles, it's crazy. But the Yankees were absolutely not going to make a big splash and get a big player, and so now here we are with that.
No, listen, I'm not happy with the current climate of baseball that a big owner can come in and throw that kind of money around. But you know what? I'm a Met fan, and I'm not going to apologize for it. And the Met fans who are trying to come up with some other sort of narrative of, well, it was about the farm system, or it was about Mendoza, or it was about, no, but it's okay. But Mike, it's okay, right? It's okay if the Mets won because of money.
Donnie, here's the deal, okay? You know who wants Steve Cohen to be their owner? Everybody.
Right.
There isn't a sports fan that I know who wouldn't love Steve Cohen to be their owner, because he is relentlessly going to do whatever he can to set his team up to win a championship. And does this guarantee it? Absolutely not. We've gone over this. Alex Rodriguez left the Mariners. They won 116 games the next year. Bryce Harper left the Nationals. They won the World Series the next year. I think I told this story on the show. Maybe I did. I was in Boston the weekend that the Alex Rodriguez from the Rangers to the Yankees trade was made. And you would have thought that a meteor was about to hit Kenmore Square. It was the end of everything. Oh, my God, he's going to be 60 feet away from Derek Jeter. They're going to go to the World Series every single year. They have been twice since then. They won one, and they went back this year. So every time you think that this is some sort of apocalyptic, game-changing thing, then, guess what? Then they have to go out and play the season. I mentioned this in a column the other day at MLB.com, okay? The Dodgers last winter spent $1 billion, north of $1 billion, on two baseball players, Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto, okay? And with all of that and the fact that they did end up winning the World Series, they were one loss away from being out of business against the Padres in the division round. And you know who saved them that day? It wasn't Ohtani, and it wasn't Yamamoto. It was 9 relief pitchers in a bullpen game. Saved their season, shut out the Padres, and a few weeks later, they're dancing on the field. All of this stuff is great. The baseball winter is great, and then guess what? They're going to go play the season.
Now, a lot of our listeners might, they're younger, and they might not know this, but Mike Lupica is the guy who christened George Steinbrenner as the boss. He's the first one who called him that in the Daily News. So one of the narratives that's out there right now, Mike, is...
Oh, God.
Well,
no, not what would George do.
But George would not have allowed this to happen. And with all due respect to George, he didn't have to deal with Steve Cohen, and he didn't have to deal with Guggenheim Partners. So it might have happened to George.
Oh, my God, there's no more tired trope in town than, George wouldn't have let this happen. What would George do? Okay. Yeah, you know what George did? When he wanted Dave Winfield, he went out and got him and had buyer's remorse, Michael. How soon? About 20 minutes later? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden he was Mr. May, okay? And he was basically bidding against himself with Dave Winfield. So this would have played out exactly. It was so logical the way this was going to play out. And I know that Cohen, from everything I'm reading, didn't know until the last day that he was going to get him. But he had, in his case, he had more money to offer. And maybe Soto did, even though he took more money, maybe he did buy into a brighter future. I don't know. But this guy, if you're rooting for his team, what more of an owner could you want than Steve Cohen?
Speaking of owners, I'm surprised it took this long for somebody to fly a plane over MetLife Stadium like they did on Sunday. And that was such a turning point for the Giants franchise in '78, because Wellington really cared about the fans, and he really felt hurt by that moment. What's going on with John right now? What do you think he's going through? And are hearts and minds within that organization being changed about Shane and Dable based on how this season's likely to close out?
They have so badly lost their way, and it was like this incredible domino effect, and it started after the second Super Bowl against the Patriots. And by the time Tom Coughlin left, he was having losing seasons. And then we know what happened after that, the parade of I'm not going to call them tomato cans, but okay, McAdoo in the bad suit, and Shermer and Joe Judge, Mr. Quarterback Sneak on 3rd and 9, and finally this. Listen, I like John, I like Brian Dable. I don't know Joe Shane, okay, but I don't know how you can sell this angry fan base who feels like they have been deserted by ownership that about 10 years ago considered itself one of the model franchises in the sport. The Steelers and the Giants, the family business, all that stuff, okay? And now they have become a team as lost as the Raiders are lost right now, as the Carolina Panthers are lost right now. And the names, Mara and Tish, right now don't mean anything to the fans. And again, I've told you this before. I love Wellington Mara. John Mara and I we knew each other in college. We went to college together. I know how much he wants to win. He just doesn't know how anymore.
Yeah, it's shocking. It is shocking. And let's move over to the other team. Aaron Rodgers spoke again today. Yeah, he never stops. And said maybe there is a jet curse and we have to end it. So now it's a curse. Now it's something that we can't even touch. It's nothing that we could put our finger on. It's the mystic other world.
If this guy had made a few plays along the way, they'd be a 500 team right now.
Yeah, they'd be battling for the playoffs.
No. If he had just made a few plays, they're battling for the playoffs right now. And the defense has been overrated, absolutely. They're a team as badly coached as there is in the National Football League. Okay, that much is clear. But if he makes a throw against the Vikings, they win in London. If he makes a throw against, he tried to blame it on Williams. If he makes a throw against the Bills, on and on and on. I'm not saying he had to make all of them. But he was brought here. Those were the plays he was brought here to make. And what we have seen is a 41-year-old quarterback coming off a devastating injury who is never going to be the same again. I'm not saying he might not get a job next year. He might very well get a job. But if he had, Belichick's great line, do your job, okay? If Aaron Rodgers had come close to doing the job he was brought here to do, the Jets are a 500 team right now. They're a 500 team. You would have thought that by accident, in all of those games where he had the ball in his hands, when he had the game in his hands, he would have been able to deliver, and he never delivered one time.
Even if it had been once or twice, Mike, you're right. It's a totally different season. They're still playing meaningful football games. And I know this is a bad guy take, but I'm curious for your thoughts. The numbers were way up, over 300 yards this week. And, Mike, I watched the game, and I still never saw him throw the ball in any way like he used to.
Oh, Peter, how about the last drive when they can put this thing away, okay? And, again, it's coaching and it's him. And maybe you can't separate one from the other. They get stuffed for a loss on first down, and then he gets sacked on second down, and then he throws the ball short of the markers just trying to preserve the field goal, and they kick the field goal. But they never go down and score the touchdown to win the game. He never, he did make a play down the field, and it was like a Christmas miracle the other day, But no, this is on. I don't care what he says. And the other day, he didn't want to talk about Jets history. He's only been here for one season. Okay, now he's going to talk about the curse. Shut up.
Now, Mike, now it gets hard. As you might have read, there's going to be a little change in programming here at the station where I'll have a 2-hour solo show from 1 to 3, and Don, Peter, and Alan Hahn will have the show from 3 to 7.
That's speculative, Michael.
Speculative, but that's what it's going to be when they finally get around to writing a press release.
I think Michael knows where his show's going to be.
And what we're doing is we're allowing the children to choose what parent they want to live with.
Yeah.
So yesterday we
God
did
bless
it
you all.
with Buster only, and Buster chose me, and Don and Peter were not pleased. But the big free agent is you. So which way do you want to go, Mike? You want to
Juan Soto minus the money, so to speak.
Yeah,
That's
there's
right.
no money involved.
No.
Right.
Okay, well, listen, I knew this question was going to come. I mean, as soon as I realized that those geniuses in charge of radio, we're doing this, okay? Because, and by the way, when I was at the station, Donnie knows this. We used to talk about this all the time. Nobody ever said to us, "Hey, Mike, who'd you have to pay off to get that time slot?" But anyway, I digress, okay? And so I've been thinking about this because what you do is Taylor Lupica, every time we've ever had a big decision about a move or something else, she says just make a list, the pros and the cons, and there are so many. There's so many pros. I mean, there's so many pros on both sides of the ledger. I mean, first of all, I'm incredibly loyal to Peter because it was really his idea that I start doing this regular gig with you guys.
Yes.
And I mean, there's no way that he could have known, just how great it was going to be. But anyway, it was. So things always start. And listen, and Michael, I'm trying to just soften this, Michael. But everybody knows how much I love Don LaGreca. I mean, I would have how much I respect him, and I respect you too, Peter. Don't take this wrong.
No. You know him a long time.
I've known him a long time, and he knows this is a fact. When they were first talking to me about doing a radio show for ESPN, I told him I'm not doing it unless Don, even though he would have it just increased his workload, unless Don LaGreca had been a part of it. And he was, and we had a blast. Okay. And Michael, I feel like I helped raise him in this business. I mean, I was responsible for getting the New York Post, and this is why this hurts me, Michael, but
I don't like how this is going.
Michael, you know that you ended up at the Daily News because I went to the editor of the paper and I said, he's the last guy in the parking lot every night. Yeah. He gets stories that nobody else is getting, and we have to get him, and we got him, and before long he was on the radio, and before long he was the television voice of the Yankees. So I do not take this decision, Michael, I don't take this decision lightly, okay? So I'll just say to Peter and Don, see ya!
Yeah!
And Mike, and I say this sincerely, enjoy the smaller audience earlier in the day.
Wow, you hear that?
You know what they say, Peter? You know what they say in show business, okay? There are no small parts. There are only small actors, Peter.
That's right. Well, hold on. Don said that, to be clear, but I agreed with his sentiment completely. I hear what you're saying. This was tough, what you just did. This is going to be tough for us.
This is very difficult, but I can't. I've known Michael longer, and I've been so happy, and I've had so much time with the three of you. I'm sorry and I'm not ruling out the fact that it's some down the line from time to time.
I will.
You and the new
Don,
the new guy.
No. Once you choose, you choose. Once you choose, you
see,
choose.
I think you made the right choice when you hear stuff like this.
It's over now. And
why?
There's no sleeping with the ex-wife.
Are you really comfortable with this attitude right now?
You know what?
Do you want to have to every Sunday from now until the end of time read that Sunday column and just with anxiety?
No, please don't do that. Another one? I can't have another Sunday column like that, Mike.
Oh.
No, listen. It was a very, very. Actually, it wasn't that difficult. But anyway, it was
a somewhat difficult decision.
Yeah.
It was a somewhat. Thank you very much. It was a somewhat difficult decision. I knew you guys were going to make me choose, and after all of I've got all this time invested in Michael Kay. And he's really, the way his career has played out, it's made me look very good. Okay,
right.
And so
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it has.
so and again, there's no facetiousness. Peter came up with this idea, and I'm repeating myself, but everybody in town in the media business knows how much I love Don LaGreca. So this was not, really as easy as I'm making it sound. But at the end of the day, I've just known Michael longer. I'll tell you a story that applies here. Okay. I was talking to John Thompson, the great John Thompson, and we'd had a difficult relationship until later on in his life, and then we became friends. And we were talking about all of the Georgetown centers, And I said, come on, you got to tell me, Dikembe, Alonzo, Patrick, who'd you like best? And he just looked at me with that voice, and he goes, Patrick came first. And in the end of the day, Michael came first, and so there you have it.
Beautiful. I couldn't have been more happy. Because if I ever,
Michael,
God forbid, got divorced and the children chose me, I'd be overjoyed. I'd be laughing at Jody's face.
No. And you know what, Michael? Did you feel like it was going away from you then halfway through the
Yeah, I thought it was slipping away, and I was starting to get a little nervous.
And Michael, I'll just tell you this, and I say this with love and great memory, okay? Uncle Danny would have been really pissed at me.
What, if you chose the other way? I think you would have liked the acting.
Yeah, if I hadn't chosen you. Uncle Danny would have been happy with, right?
Yeah.
No, he would have been... Because, you remember at the wedding, I practically made him get up and sing. And he goes, no. I said, get up, come on.
Do you know the best line from that wedding, Mike? I don't even know if you know this, but my uncle was singing, I think, and Paul O'Neill turned to somebody at his table and said, who is this guy?
Really?
O'Neill, you can't expect him to see Moonstruck. I mean, the last movie O'Neill saw was Old Yeller.
Mike, have a Merry Christmas. Yes. I know you're going to be up east, so maybe we'll run into each other.
You guys have a great holiday, everybody. And even though I don't like the way this sounds, Michael, I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah. January 6th. Thank you, Mike.
January 6th.
Okay, bye, guys.
You're good. You guys a little crushed or not? Are you okay?
No, I'm good. Guests are whack.
See that?
Listen,
I knew he was going to pick Michael. He discovered Michael. He was going to pick Michael.
Listen, it was a gutless choice, but it wasn't surprising. And this is, again, Don, this is one of the things that's wrong with America right now. People, they all just go with the old guard. Everyone wants to go with what's safe. Everyone wants to go with what's been there. But the innovators, the people who want to be a part of something new, something special, that's who's going to come on this journey with us. Frankly, as far as I'm concerned, Don, we could start. Maybe we start completely fresh.
I think this is going to age the way Steinbrenner's signing of Winfield went. I think Lupica's already regretting it.
Well, maybe it'll go like Steinbrenner's signing of Reggie, though.
We'll see.
You know what? You guys made a point on yesterday's show, and I think that it was a classic case of transference. You're rooting for me to fail.
No.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
Not.
No, you
can't believe that.
No.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't believe that.
Don, we conquered everybody with terrible lead-ins.
I know, but that's
it's still. I
don't want to have to go through that again.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, Michael, you did this. You're the one who, for years, has said, that you're rooting for you. You're always rooting to look better. We know you too well,
and we fought you on it, so you know how we feel about it.
No, I think you guys are rooting for me to fail. That's cool.
He's making that.
No. I really believe that.